Rhetorical synthesis problems make up about 90 of the 800 points on the digital SAT reading and writing test, and these are some formidable looking problems. Each one takes up half a printed page. In just a minute, I'll give you a quick and easy hack that will save you a lot of time, but these are still reasoning problems, so be sure to stick around to the end because we have a lot to unpack here. My name's John, I'm a perfect scorer on the SAT writing section, two-time Ivy League grad, and one of America's highest rated tutors. This series is devoted to helping you master the digital SAT. Imagine this, you're sitting for the actual SAT and you're on the last question on the writing section. Your clock is running down. Now, if you can't answer this question in 15 seconds, then you're missing something important. Here it comes. I'll provide the clock so you do not need to pause the video. Now, if you're thinking, there's no way I could even read that question in 15 seconds, you're right, you can't, and you won't have time to on the exam. Your job is to cut through the noise and hone in on what's relevant. So let's break down these types of questions. They always start with the same line. While researching a topic, a student has taken the following notes. Next, you're given 3 to 6 bullet points of student notes. Then the student wants to, and finally, the prompt, shown in green. These 7 words are what you need to pay attention to. I say finally because you don't actually need to read these last framing elements in yellow. The last statement, which choice most effectively uses relevant information from the notes to accomplish this goal, appears in every rhetorical synthesis question. And surprisingly, you don't even need to read the notes in blue. Let me say that again because this is a big deal. This is the hack. Do not read the student notes. Look, the prompt tells us to emphasize the aim of the research study as opposed to the methodology or the findings of the study. So we're going to hunt for keywords in the answer choices that relate to what the researchers were trying to find out before the study happened. Just look at these first few words of each answer choice. A, researchers wanted to know, boom, that's exactly what we're looking for. Just to be sure though, let's see if we can rule out the other 3. B, after they obtain data, no, that's about results, not aim. We now know, done. This answer choice has the same problem. It's out. D, researchers obtained, we don't care what the researchers obtained. We only care what they were trying to learn before the study happened. So we have it, the answer is indeed A. Notice that I only read 20 words out of 230, and it's not because I was playing fast and loose. The first 20 words I read were enough to deduce the correct answer with confidence. You don't need to be a genius to move through these questions quickly. You just need to get your hands on a lot of them and know what to look for. Now, you might be thinking, wait a second, John, maybe you just cherry pick this example. Is it going to be that simple on all the rhetorical synthesis problems? Well, yes and no. These questions are not memory tests. The answer choices are also never going to misrepresent the student notes. And the College Board explicitly says that you don't need to worry about whether the information contained in the student notes is factually correct in the real world. That's not the game we're playing. These questions are about spotting the relationship between the prompt and the answer choices. There are a total of 66 of these types of questions on all the material released by the College Board, and you can correctly answer 65 of them without ever looking at the student notes. The one exception is the red-legged frog problem from PDF Practice Test 5. In this case, the only way to deduce the categorization of the frog is by using the highlighted sections in blue. When I came across this question though, I wasn't misled into choosing the wrong answer choice. I started by reading the prompt and the answer choices, and I just realized that I didn't have enough information to answer confidently. This is the test maker sending us a signal that, hey, we've built in a shortcut, but we reserve the right to ratchet up the difficulty on this type of question if we want to. Even with this one exception though, it's important to emphasize that the best approach to tackle these types of problems is still to skip the student notes and go straight to the prompt and the answer choices. But let's return to this theme of distinguishing aim, methodology, and findings because it comes up a lot. Have a go at this next one. Make sure you can identify the 6-word prompt. Go ahead and pause the video now. There's our prompt, present the study and its methodology. We have 2 tasks here. We need to introduce the study to someone unfamiliar with it, and we need to cover the researcher's approach to the problem. Right off the bat, answer choice A is out because the phrase "a study revealed" is about findings. There's nothing here about the approach the researcher took to arrive at those findings. It also doesn't present the study. It mentions the study, but to introduce it to an audience unfamiliar with the study, we at least need to include the author. Let's try B. Seeking to understand how ducklings swimming in a line behind their mother save energy. I'm going to butcher this, but here goes. Jiming Wen used computer simulations to study the effect of the mother duck's wake. This option looks pretty good. It introduces the study and it includes the key verb used. This is about methodology, so let's keep it. C is an interesting option. It at least includes the author's name and it does provide some information about the study, but it doesn't focus on methodology. Remember, we need an answer that focuses on the researcher's approach to the problem. The real shortcut to ruling out this answer choice is the word being. I've analyzed at least 50 SAT exams from the College Board over the past decade, and any answer choice that includes the word being is wrong, 100% of the time. If we look at D, we see Jiming Wen discovered, and again, that's about findings, not methodology. So B is correct. Try another one. Pause the video now. Hopefully you skipped right to the prompt. Present the study and its findings. This time we care about results, but don't forget that we also need to introduce the study. For answer choice A, the phrase Chinsamee studied pterosaur jawbones really doesn't cut it for a presentation. I want to see more detail than that. The phrase was initially unsure is also more about aim than findings, so A is out. B is terrible, it doesn't mention the author, and it includes passive tense, it's gone. C actually does a nice job of presenting the study and its methodology, but not its findings. D gives us everything we're looking for. Determined is a nice findings word, so we're all set. Notice again that I only read the 6 words in the prompt plus the answer choices. This was sufficient to logically conclude that D is the correct answer. You'll also see a lot of compare and contrast or point out the similarity type questions on the writing section. Give this one a try and we'll discuss it in a minute. Here's our prompt. Contrast first class levers and second class levers. A is not contrasting the right things, so it's out. B is tempting because it notes a difference between first class levers and second class levers, so let's keep it for now and see if we can do any better. C is out since it points out a similarity rather than a difference. Then we get to D and we get everything we could ask for. In first class levers, the fulcrum is located between the effort and the load, but in second class levers, the load is located between the effort and the fulcrum. This answer choice doesn't merely state that there's a difference, it describes the difference. And that's really the moral of the story for this type of problem. Don't just state, explain. Let's try 2 more. Pause the video and try this one. Here's our prompt. Describe the rocking chair to an audience unfamiliar with Sam Maloof. We again have a 2-part prompt on this one, but there's an implied hierarchy in the 2 parts of the prompt. Our primary task is to describe the rocking chair, and our secondary task is to introduce Sam Maloof. In SAT speak, if the prompt says something is unfamiliar to the audience, that means you need to introduce it. Let's dive into this. With its sleek contoured armrest and seat, the walnut rocking chair in Boston's Museum of Fine Art is just one piece of furniture created by American woodworker Sam Maloof. This looks pretty good. The first part describes the rocking chair and the second part introduces Maloof. We'll keep it. B is a tempting answer. Sam Maloof was born in 1916 and died in 2009, and during his life, he made a chair that you can see if you visit the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston. This answer choice introduces Maloof, and it mentions the chair, but mentioning is not the same as describing. This choice is primarily about Maloof when it's supposed to describe the chair. C is entirely about Maloof and doesn't even mention the chair, so that's out. And finally, answer choice D does describe the rocking chair, but it never mentions Maloof, so that leaves us with A. This last one has an interesting twist, so take a minute to try it on your own. We need to emphasize the decline in unique apple varieties in the US and specify why this decline occurred. This is a 2-part prompt where each part is equally weighted. For answer choice A, this bit about the Lost Apple Project is a curveball. We'll ignore it for the time being. We do get something about lost apple varieties, and this choice specifies why the decline occurred, so we'll keep it. B emphasizes the decline, but doesn't address why the decline occurred, so it's out. Half correct is all wrong. C. Since the rise of industrial agriculture, U.S. farmers have mainly grown the same unique apple varieties, resulting in the loss of thousands of varieties less suitable for commercial growth. This covers our bases, so we'll keep it. D. As industrial agriculture rose to prominence in the mid-1900s, the number of crops selected for cultivation decreased dramatically. This does mention the decline and the reason for it, so we need to step up our analytical rigor. D says the number of crops, rather than the number of unique apple varieties in the US. Answer choice A also fails to mention the US, so C is the best answer. You don't need to read most of the words in these rhetorical synthesis questions, but you cannot overlook a single word in the prompt. Let's also notice that the portion highlighted in pink about the Lost Apple project was extraneous information. In this case, the student notes weren't just a waste of time to read, they were distracting because a lot of students will incorrectly assume that they need to use all of the information in the notes. Here are your takeaways for today. Skip to the prompt, but then read it carefully. Distinguish aim, method, and findings. Don't merely state, explain. Distinguish primary and secondary tasks. And finally, introduce what is unfamiliar to the reader. If you found this video helpful, be sure to subscribe and check out my other digital SAT content.